The Galactic Council hall was silent. Every alien leader, from the tall insectoids of Creel to the glowing minds of Seraph, sat in their seats without speaking. A message had arrived only hours ago. It had shaken the galaxy to its core. A human ship was coming. Normally, that was no reason for concern. Humans were curious, reckless explorers, but not a threat to the mighty Council. This time, however, the message said something impossible. The human ship was carrying the forbidden creature, the Void Reaper. Across the galaxy, children were told stories of the Void Reaper to keep them awake at night. A beast larger than a battle tank, covered in spikes and scales, able to rip apart armored ships with its claws. No civilization had ever captured one. No creature had ever been tamed. The very idea of a human surviving near one was madness. Yet the Council's sensors did not lie. The ship was real. The beast was inside, and soon it would land. Whispers spread across the chamber. "This cannot be true," hissed a scaled governor from the Rimworlds. "If it is true," replied a cold, mechanical voice from the synth delegation, "then the balance of power will change forever." The great doors opened. Everyone leaned forward as the human entered. He wore a dusty explorer's jacket, scarred by travel and danger. His face was calm, his eyes steady, as if he carried no fear at all. Behind him, the ground shook. Chains rattled. A shadow filled the doorway. The Void Reaper stepped into the light. Gasps broke across the chamber. The beast's head was massive, its jaws filled with sharp teeth, each as long as a knife. Red spikes lined its back, glowing faintly like fire under its skin. The creature's golden eyes swept the hall, and many leaders flinched. Some reached for hidden weapons, but the human simply raised his hand. The monster stopped. Its huge claws curled into the floor, but it obeyed. Slowly, unbelievably, the Void Reaper lowered its head beside the human, like a loyal animal. The chamber erupted. "This is witchcraft," shouted one alien. "Kill them both before it kills us," screamed another. But the council leader raised a hand for silence. The leader's voice trembled. "Human, what is the meaning of this?" The man did not smile. He looked straight at the galaxy's rulers and spoke in a firm voice. "This creature is not your enemy. It is my companion. And together, we have survived what none of you dared to face." The room froze. No one could believe it. A human, a fragile species barely known for survival outside their own small world, was claiming mastery over the deadliest predator in the stars. The council leader leaned back in disbelief. The human stepped forward. The beast followed, chains clinking softly. The sound alone made half the chamber shrink back in fear. "I found it," the human continued. "On a dead world, far beyond your maps. You call it the Void Reaper. I call it something else. I call it friend." The words were simple, yet they carried weight heavier than warships. A ripple of anger, confusion, and fear spread across the chamber. "Impossible," hissed the Creel representative. "That beast has no soul, no loyalty," added the Seraph mind, glowing with suspicion. "Then why does it obey?" the human asked calmly. He touched the creature's scaled head, and to the shock of everyone watching, the Void Reaper closed its eyes like a tamed hound. The silence that followed was unbearable. For the first time in living memory, the Galactic Council masters of 1,000 worlds were forced to admit they did not understand. Something was happening that defied every law, every history, every fear they had built for centuries. And the strangest part of all was not the creature itself. It was the human, because he was not afraid. The council hall stayed silent long after the human's final words. The huge beast knelt beside him, its spiked tail resting like a coiled whip. No one dared to breathe too loudly. Council leader Athen rose slowly from the high seat. Her silver eyes glimmered in the chamber lights. "Explain," she said. Her voice was calm, but the tremor underneath betrayed her fear. The human captain Elias Kade bowed slightly. "You want to know how this began? Then listen. It started on a forgotten world, a place your star maps mark only as X-47. Every delegate leaned forward. Even the cold synth units paused their silent data streams. Elias's memory returned to a year earlier. His ship had been failing after a trade mission gone wrong. Fuel cells cracked, guidance offline. It dropped through the black storms of an uncharted system. X-47 was nothing but rock and ash. A dead sun hung low, bleeding orange light across broken mountains. No plants, no water, only endless wind that screamed like ghosts. His distress beacon was weak. No rescue would come. Survival meant moving. For 3 days he wandered the jagged valleys, searching for shelter. On the 4th, the ground itself shook. At first he thought it was a quake. Then came the roar, deep, metallic. A sound that made the air vibrate in his chest. Through the dust a shape emerged, 4 meters tall, armored in dark red scales, spikes glowing faintly as if fire lived beneath the skin. Eyes like molten gold locked on him. The Void Reaper. Elias had heard stories of such monsters as a child on Earth, but stories never showed the smell of ozone, the thunder of each step. He knew running was hopeless. The creature sniffed the air and lowered its head, a predator ready to strike. Elias lifted his hands. "Easy," he whispered, though no one could hear in that storm. Something strange happened. The beast paused. It tilted its head, curious. He remembered the emergency rations in his pack-dried protein strips. Slowly, carefully, he tossed one onto the sand. The creature sniffed again. Instead of attacking, it nudged the strip with a claw and ate it. Hours passed in a tense dance. Elias stayed still, offering food piece by piece. The monster never left. When the night came and the cold winds howled, it lay beside his small fire, eyes half closed. As if guarding him by dawn, he gave it a name in his mind, Ashfang. For the black dust on its scales, gasps echoed through the chamber as Elias told this part of the story. "You fed it?" barked a Creel delegate, his antennae twitching. "Yes," Elias answered simply. "That creature devours starships." Another shouted. "Perhaps it was hungry for something else," Elias replied. The beast beside him rumbled low, a sound that made the floor vibrate. Several guards raised their weapons but did not fire. Council leader Athen motioned for silence. "Continue, Captain. Every word matters." Elias explained how days became weeks. He and Ashfang hunted together small metal-skinned lizards for him, enormous rock serpents for the beast. When a sandstorm nearly buried his camp, Ashfang shielded him with its massive body. Spikes glowing like embers in the dark. Communication was not with words, but gestures, tones, and trust. When Elias fixed his ship's power core, the creature watched, curious but never hostile. "Something in it understood me," he told the council. "Not as prey, as companion," the hall murmured again. Could a Void Reaper, the nightmare of 1,000 planets, truly feel loyalty? Elias's voice grew quiet. But X-47 held more than one beast. The council froze. One night the sky lit with blue fire. 3 more shapes came larger, faster. Ashfang roared and stood between me and them. I thought I would die. Instead, the others stopped. They studied me, then turned and vanished into the storm. He looked around the chamber. They are not mindless killers. They choose. The creature beside him lifted its head at those words. Eyes shining like molten suns, Council leader Athen rose again. "Captain Kade, you ask us to believe the impossible? Why bring it here? Why risk every life in this hall?" Elias met her gaze. "Because if these beings can choose, they can also choose war, peace. The galaxy fears them, but fear breeds mistakes. I brought proof that understanding is possible." Silence fell heavy and deep. The beast lowered itself again, resting its giant head near Elias's boots. The gesture was clear to every watching delegate. Trust no one in the chamber moved, for the first time in recorded history. The Galactic Council faced not only a monster, but the idea that the monster might be a friend, and somewhere beyond the edge of known space. Other golden eyes were watching. The council hall felt smaller than before. Every leader sat stiff, as if the air itself had gained weight. Captain Elias Kade stood in the center, the giant beast at his side. Golden eyes glowed like twin suns. Council leader Athen finally spoke. "Captain, you have shown us how you found this creature. But how did it become this?" Her voice trembled on the last word. Elias rested a hand on the warm scales near the beast's neck. "It was not sudden," he said. "It was days of trust and nights of danger." Back on the dead world of X-47, storms had never stopped. The sky was the color of rust. Shards of glass like sand cut through the air. Elias remembered the first time. Ashfang, name he whispered to the creature, allowed him to come close. The giant lay beside a black cliff, eyes half closed. Each breath rumbled like thunder. He approached slowly, one hand out, the other ready to drop his pack and run. The creature did not move. Its golden eyes slid open, watching. Elias felt the heat coming off its scales. "Easy," he said softly. He touched the rough hide. The skin was hard as stone, but alive with a faint inner warmth. The Void Reaper made a low sound, something between a growl and a purr. Elias laughed in disbelief. For the first time since crashing, he did not feel alone. Food was always scarce. One night, a storm drove a herd of rock serpents across the valley. Ashfang lunged with lightning speed, crushing one under a single claw. Elias used his shock rifle to bring down another. When the hunt ended, the creature nudged the smaller kill toward him. A gift, a choice. Elias cooked the meat over a tiny fire while the beast lay nearby, spikes glowing dim red in the darkness. The smell of smoke and iron filled the air. A strange peace settled between man and monster. Days turned into weeks. They built a rhythm. A soft whistle meant stay. A low hum meant come. A raised hand meant stop. Ashfang learned each signal with uncanny speed. Sometimes the beast even moved before Elias finished the gesture, as if it could read his thoughts. One evening, when the cold cut like knives, Elias leaned against the creature's side for warmth. The giant adjusted its body, shielding him from the wind. No words were spoken, yet the meaning was clear. "You are under my protection." Elias paused in his story. The council chamber buzzed with disbelief. "This is a fairy tale," snapped the Creel delegate. "A predator cannot feel friendship." The seraph mind flickered with cold light. "Perhaps it is using you," it said. "Perhaps this bond is only a trick to bring it here?" Ashfang raised its head at the sharp voices. A deep growl rolled across the floor, shaking the seats. Guards tightened their grips on plasma spears. "Hold," Elias commanded. His voice was calm but firm. The beast lowered its head again. Silence fell. The council could not deny what they saw. Obedience, and leaned forward. "Captain, you risked everything to bring it here, but you still wear chains on the creature. Why?" Elias touched the dark metal links that looped loosely around Ashfang's neck. "They are not for control," he said. "They are a signal, a warning to anyone who would attack first. But the chains are empty of power." He unclipped one section and held it up. The clasp opened easily. "See?" he said. "It stays because it chooses to stay." Gasps echoed around the hall. Several delegates looked ready to flee, yet the beast remained still, eyes bright and steady. Elias lowered his voice. "There is more," he said. "Sometimes when the storms raged, I heard sounds in the dark tones, almost like music. Ashfang would answer with a low call, and the wind would change. It was as if the planet itself listened." He looked around the chamber. "I believe these creatures are not just hunters. They are guardians of something older than we can imagine." A ripple of unease moved through the council. Guardians of what? Council leader Athen folded her silver hands. "You speak of friendship," she said slowly. "But the galaxy remembers only death where these creatures walk. If others of its kind appear, can you promise they will be peaceful?" Elias met her gaze. "No," he admitted. "I can only promise that fear will not save us. Understanding might." The golden eyes of the Void Reaper glowed brighter, as if agreeing. Some delegates leaned forward. curiosity fighting fear. For the first time, a thought crept into the minds of the council. Perhaps the deadliest creature in the universe was not the enemy, but far beyond the council's star systems. Deep in the black storms of X-47, unseen shapes stirred. Others were coming. The Galactic Council Hall no longer felt like a place of order. Behind calm faces, fear spread like smoke. Elias Kade stood in the center with Ashfang, the giant beast, at his side. Golden eyes glowed softly, watching every movement. Council Leader Athen tapped a silver rod on the floor. "This meeting will pause for private council," she said. Delegates filed out in silence, but whispers followed them into the side chambers. Elias knew those whispers were dangerous. In the narrow meeting corridors, groups formed fast. Governor Rel of the Creal hissed to a cluster of allies. "That creature is a weapon. If the human controls it, he controls the balance of power. We must act first." Across the hall, the Seraph mind flickered with blue light, speaking through a soft-voiced envoy. "Contain the beast before panic spreads." "Contain the human too," not everyone agreed. A few younger delegates argued for study, not violence. But fear was the louder voice. Hidden behind an observation screen, a synth agent recorded every word. Orders would soon follow. Back in the main chamber, Athen stayed behind. She approached Elias quietly. "Captain," she said, "not all members wish you well. Some believe the only safe path is destruction, of you and of your friend." Elias's jaw tightened. "I expected that." He glanced at Ashfang, who lay calm but alert. "I will not start a fight, but I will defend him." Athen lowered her voice even more. "There are secret factions here. They will not wait for votes." Elias nodded once. "Then we stay ready." That night, the council hall slept under a false peace, but deep inside the maintenance tunnels, figures moved. 3 Creal soldiers and 2 synth units carried pulse rifles set to kill their leader. A scarred officer named Vorn whispered into a cum. Target confirmed. "Human and creature located in West Chamber. We strike now. No survivors." Above them, Ashfang's ears twitched. The beast raised its head, golden eyes bright in the dark. Elias woke instantly. He had learned to trust those senses. The first shot cut through the door with a flash of blue light. Ashfang leapt to his feet, a deep roar shaking the walls. The attackers poured in, weapons ready. "Stand down," Elias shouted. "They'll kill us all if you fire." The soldiers ignored him. A second blast struck the floor, spraying sparks. Ashfang moved like lightning. One massive claw swept the room, knocking weapons aside without tearing flesh. A synth soldier flew across the chamber and slammed into a wall, stunned but alive. Elias grabbed a fallen staff and spun to block another strike. "Stop," he yelled again. The beast crouched over him, shielding him from the next volley. Its spikes glowed hot red, but it held back. Not one attacker lay dead. Council security stormed in seconds later, sirens wailing. Seeing the scene, unarmed attackers on the floor, a roaring creature standing guards aimed plasma spears. "Hold," Elias barked. "Ashfang, stay." The creature lowered its head slowly, chest rumbling like distant thunder. Council Leader Athen arrived, cloak flowing behind her. Her voice cut through the chaos. "Cease fire, all of you." The guards froze. The attackers were dragged to their knees, weapons stripped. When the chamber filled again, delegates shouted over one another. Proof that the beast is too dangerous. One cried, "No," argued another. "Proof that it can choose mercy." None are dead. Athen raised her hand. Silence fell. "You all saw what happened," she said. The creature defended, but it did not slaughter. The only blood shed tonight came from fear, not from the beast. She turned to Elias. "You saved lives by stopping it. Your controller, its choice cannot be denied." The captured soldiers refused to speak, but everyone knew what their silence meant. Factions inside the council wanted the human and the Void Reaper erased. Elias met Athen's gaze. "You warned me," he said. This will not stop. No, she agreed. And if more of these creatures exist, those factions will hunt them too. Ashfang rumbled softly as if understanding every word. Its eyes, bright and endless, seemed to hold a question only Elias could answer. He laid a hand on the warm scales. "We'll face them," he whispered. Far away, on the dead world of X-47, black clouds swirled above empty valleys. From the storm emerged shapes 3, then 4, then 5 golden eyes glowing in the dark. They raised their heads toward the stars. A low call, deep and ancient, rolled through the void. The galaxy had only met the first of their kind, the Council. Hall opened the next day under heavy guard. Steel doors stayed locked until identity scans cleared each delegate. Rumors of the night attack ran through every corridor like fire. Captain Elias Kade walked beside Ashfang, the giant beast's claws clicking softly on the polished floor. Golden eyes glowed, but stayed calm. Every guard who saw them stepped back without a word. Council leader Athen waited at the center platform. Her silver eyes carried worry. "Captain," she said quietly, "today will be worse. Fear spreads faster than truth." Elias nodded. He had seen the fear already, doors closing, voices dropping, weapons held a little too tight. The session began with sharp words. Governor Rel of the Creel struck first. "This creature is a living weapon," he hissed. "Yesterday it fought soldiers inside this chamber. We must end this threat now," others shouted back. The soldiers attacked first. A younger delegate cried. "It spared their lives," said another. The argument grew louder until Athens slammed the silver rod on the floor. "Enough." Her gaze swept the room. "No decision will be made by shouting. We will vote tomorrow after full debate." But in the dark corners of the hall, some delegates were already making different plans. That night, hidden far below the council hall, Governor Rel met with a shadowed group. 2 synth commanders, a rogue trader, and an officer from the border fleet stood in the flicker of a single blue lamp. Rel's voice was a harsh whisper. "The council will never act in time. Tomorrow, we end this ourselves. We will destroy the creature and the human who shields it." The others nodded. A stolen security code changed hands. Explosives, silent and deadly, waited in a cargo bay beneath the chamber. Up in the guest quarters, Ashfang stirred. The beast raised its head, golden eyes bright in the dark. A deep rumble rolled through its chest. Elias woke instantly. He had learned to trust that sound. "What is it?" he whispered. The creature moved toward the door, nostrils flaring. Something was wrong. Something coming. Morning arrived with a false calm. Delegates filed into the great chamber. Guards took their posts. No one saw the small devices hidden behind support beams, smooth black spheres, blinking faint red. Elias felt the hair rise on his neck. Ashfang's spikes glowed faintly. The beast crouched low, eyes scanning the walls. Then a faint click echoed under the floor. Ashfang roared. The sound shook the chamber like a quake. An explosion ripped through the lower level. Flames burst from the far wall, hurling smoke and debris. Delegates screamed. Guards rushed for exits. Before a second blast could ignite, Ashfang leapt. The creature slammed its massive body against the nearest support column. Shielding a cluster of delegates with its own armored hide, chunks of metal rained down, bouncing off its scales. Elias sprinted to a control panel, fingers flying across the screen. He triggered emergency seals that dropped heavy doors to block the fire. A third device clicked to life. Ashfang turned, eyes blazing, and crushed it beneath one claw before it could detonate. The chamber shook again, but held. When the smoke cleared, council guards dragged the would-be assassins into the open. Governor Rel struggled in their grip, his antennae quivering with rage. "You brought doom on us all," he shouted at Elias. "That monster will kill every world." Elias stepped forward, voice steady. "You planted bombs to murder your own council? The monster saved your life." The chamber fell silent. Every delegate looked from the furious governor to the calm human and the great creature still standing guard. Council leader. Thane rose, her silver eyes cold. This attack will not be hidden. Governor Rel and his allies are guilty of treason. She turned to the room. Remember what you have seen. The creature protected us. Fear nearly destroyed us. Some delegates lowered their heads in shame. Others stared at Ashfang with new understanding. The beast slowly relaxed, spikes dimming from red to a gentle gold. It had chosen mercy once again. High above the planet, in the dark edges of space, long sensors blinked awake. Unknown signals, pulse deep, slow and ancient. Far away, on worlds of stone and storm, more golden eyes opened. They had heard the roar. They were coming. The council hall smelled of smoke and scorched metal from the failed attack. Repairs had begun, but the memory of fire still clung to every wall. Captain Elias Kade stood near the center, Ashfang at his side. The creature's golden eyes glowed softly, calm but alert. Council leader Athen lifted her silver gaze. Yesterday we faced death, she said. Yet this creature saved us. Before we vote on its fate, we must understand it. Her words carried across the chamber. The delegates leaned forward, uneasy but curious. A Shen gestured to a tall synth technician. Show them, she ordered. The synth's body flickered. With pale light as a star map filled the air above the council floor. Red points pulsed across distant sectors, slow, deliberate, rhythmic. These signals began the same moment the creature roared during the attack, the synth explained. They are not random. They form a repeating pattern. Almost like language. A low murmur ran through the chamber. Elias felt Ashfang shift beside him, spikes glowing faintly. He gave a deep rumble, almost an answer. Elias stepped forward. I heard those sounds before, he said. On X-47, during the worst storms, Ashfang would call into the dark and the winds would change. I thought it was chance. It wasn't. He rested a hand on the creature's warm scales. I think these are messages. The others of its kind are speaking to us. The words hung heavy in the air. Delegates whispered to one another, fear and wonder mixing like sparks in dry grass, and gave a slow nod. Captain Kade, can you ask it to speak again? Elias met Ashfang's golden eyes. Friend, he said softly, can you call to them? The beast tilted its massive head, then lifted its snout toward the high ceiling. A deep, rolling sound filled the hollow note, so low the floor vibrated. It lasted several heartbeats and faded into silence. Moments later, the holographic star map flared bright. Every red point pulsed in perfect rhythm with the echo of Ashfang's call. Gasps erupted. Some delegates backed away, as if the glowing signals might reach through the stars. Governor Rel, now bound in heavy restraints, spat from the prisoner's platform. You see, it summons an army. A younger delegate shouted back, or it calls for peace. The chamber rang with voices fear, excitement, doubt until a Thane raised her silver rod. Silence. Her eyes stayed fixed on the star map. We must know what they want. When the council recessed, Athen approached Elias privately. Do you believe these creatures are dangerous? She asked. Elias looked at Ashfang, who lay calmly like a mountain of living iron. They are powerful, he said. But danger and choice are not the same. Ashfang has chosen to protect, not destroy. That means the others might choose to. Athen studied the beast, her voice barely a whisper. If you are wrong, Captain, entire worlds may burn. Then let's make sure we are not wrong, Elias replied. Later that night, council scholars brought ancient records from deep archives, ruined star charts, and half-forgotten myths. Among them was a fragment of text older than any known empire. Guardians of the void shall rise when the stars call. To shield the living from the darkness beyond, Elias traced the faded symbols with his finger. Guardians, not killers. Perhaps the legends had twisted over ages, turning protectors into monsters of fear. The next morning, the chamber gathered again. Elias stepped forward, voice strong. These creatures are not our enemies. They are ancient guardians. But if we attack them, we become the darkness they were meant to fight. Ashfang raised its head and gave a single deep call. The star map flickered now. The distant signals formed a new pattern, a spiral like a protective shield. Some delegates looked awed. Others still gripped their weapons. Council leader Athane's voice carried through the hall. The vote will wait. First, we must hear what the rest of this species intends. She turned to Elias. Captain Kade, you will lead a mission to meet them. But know this, if they bring war, the Council will fight. Elias nodded slowly. I will go, he said, and Ashfang will guide me. The beast rumbled softly, sound of agreement that rolled like distant thunder. The Galactic Council chamber glowed, with pale blue light as dawn spread across the capital's sky. Every delegate was present. Security drones hovered above the floor like silent hawks. Captain Elias Kade stood in the center with Ashfang at his side. The creature's golden eyes burned softly, calm but ready. Outside, news screens showed the same headline in every language. Council to decide fate of the Void Reaper and human. The entire galaxy was listening. Council leader, Athane struck the silver rod on the floor. This session will decide, she said. Do we accept contact with this species or do we end the threat now? Murmurs rolled through the chamber. Fear hung thick as smoke. Governor Rel, still bound but allowed to speak, hissed first. You have all seen the signals. They are gathering an army. Strike before it is too late. A wave of agreement rippled through a few older delegates. Others shook their heads. Elias stepped forward. Every one of you felt the blast of their call, he said. But did it harm you? Did it kill? No. It was a message. It was an invitation. He placed a hand on Ashfang's warm scales. This being saved your lives when others tried to take them. It chose peace. Choice is everything. The chamber quieted. Even Rel could not find words. A tall synth delegate broke the silence. Captain Kade, you cannot promise the same choice from the rest of its kind. I cannot, Elias admitted. But fear is not a shield. Attack will only create the war you dread. A young Waterworld envoy stood. My people have legends of protectors from the dark between stars. The patterns in their signals match our oldest songs. Perhaps we have mistaken guardians for monsters. The chamber stirred again, this time with wonder. Council leader Athene turned to Elias. Can it show us its intent? Not through youth, through its own voice. Elias nodded. He looked into Ashfang's glowing eyes. Friend, he said softly, speak. The creature lifted its head and released a deep, resonant call. The sound filled every corner of the hall, a vibration that seemed to settle in bone and heart. Above them, the star map came alive. The distant red points shifted, forming a bright spiralist shape of embrace, not attack. For a long moment, no one moved. The message was clear without a single word. Athene raised her silver rod. Delegates, you have heard the human. You have heard the creature. You know the risk. We vote now. One by one, lights flared beside each nameplate. Blue for alliance. Red for destruction. The chamber pulsed with color as decisions appeared. Blue, blue. Red, blue. The count slowed at the end. Gasps echoed as the final numbers glowed across the ceiling. Alliance -61, Terminate -59. A razor-thin Victory Council leader Athane's voice carried like a bell. The Council recognizes the Void Reaper species as sentient and grants Captain Elias Kade authority to lead first contact. A cheer broke from the younger delegates. Others sat in stunned silence. Rel lowered his eyes, defeated but still burning with hate. Ashfang lowered its great head toward Athene, a silent bow. Even the most fearful could not mistake the gesture of respect. When the chamber emptied, Athene approached Elias. You have won a fragile peace, she said. But the real test lies ahead. The rest of its kind is coming. If they do not share Ashfang's choice, no vote will save us. Elias met her gaze. Then we will show them what peace looks like, he said. Ashfang rumbled softly, a deep note of agreement, in a silent region of space. A dozen colossal shapes moved through dark clouds. Golden eyes lit the void. Their calls pulsed across the galaxy, slow and steady. Like the heartbeat of ancient worlds, they had heard the Council's answer, and they were on their way. The sky above the galactic capital turned a deep violet as night fell, but the stars did not look the same. Strange golden lights shimmered at the edge of space, signals of the approaching beings. Captain Elias Kade stood on the observation deck of the Council's great spaceport. Ashfang crouched beside him, silent and watchful. Behind them, Council leader Athen and a team of envoys waited. No weapons were drawn, but soldiers lined the walls, nervous hands on triggers. "Are you ready for this?" Athen asked quietly. Elias kept his eyes on the stars. "We have to be," he said. "They came because we listened." A low vibration touched the deck, like the heartbeat of the universe itself. Far above, the golden lights grew brighter until shapes emerged from the dark. 12 massive creatures glided into view, each larger than a battlecruiser. Wings of shimmering membrane unfolded like living sails. Their eyes, twin suns of molten gold, lit the void. The watching crowd gasped. Even Ashfang lifted his head high and released a soft, welcoming call. One of the giants answered with a note so deep it rattled the station walls. It was not a roar of war, but a sound of greeting. The lead creature slowed, stopping just beyond the station's shield ring. Its golden gaze fixed on Ashfang and the small human beside him. Elias stepped forward until the invisible barrier of the shield hummed beneath his boots. He raised his hand, palm open. "Welcome," he said, voice steady. "We are ready to speak." Ashfang gave a low call, almost like a song. The larger creature tilted its head, then lowered it until its eye met Elias's at the same level. A deep echo answered a sound that felt like language even without words. The star map above the deck flickered to life, glowing with a spiral of light. Patterns formed, slow and deliberate. A shield, a circle, a hand. The Council envoys watched in silence. Athane's voice trembled. They offer protection. Elias nodded. They are the guardians the old story spoke of. They watched the galaxy for ages, waiting for a time of great danger. Now they have come back. The giant creature released another note, softer this time, like a lullaby across the stars. Ashfang rumbled in reply. Though no translation existed, the meaning was clear. Peace, unity. Not every delegate found peace in the sound. Governor Rel, held under guard, spat bitter words. Today they bow. Tomorrow they rule. Athen turned sharply. Enough. You saw them choose mercy when they could bring death. Fear will not guide us anymore. For once, even Rel had no answer. Acel stepped beside Elias, her silver cloak shining in the star glow. On behalf of the Galactic Council, she said loudly, we accept your friendship and offer our own. We will stand with you against whatever darkness comes. The largest creature lowered its massive head until it nearly touched the station shield. Its golden eyes brightened, casting warm light across the entire deck. The station lights flickered, not from damage but from the sheer energy of the gesture. Ashfang lifted his voice in a long, resonant call of pledge heard across every listening world. When the formal words ended, Elias stood alone with Ashfang at the deck's edge. The other creatures hovered in silence, their golden eyes like distant suns. Elias placed a hand on the beast's rough scales. We did it, he whispered. They trust us. Now we have to deserve that trust. Ashfang lowered his massive head until it touched the deck beside him, a quiet sign of agreement far behind them. The council delegates spoke of treaties and shared defenses, of science and discovery. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy felt more united than divided. Yet as the Guardians settled into slow orbit, new signals flickered faintly at the very edge of the star maps, signals colder and sharper than before. They were not golden. They were blacked out. Elias watched the distant dark points and felt a chill. He knew the Guardians had not returned for nothing. Somewhere beyond the rim of known space, a deeper danger waited. Ashfang rumbled low, as if he sensed it too. Elias tightened his grip on the rail, eyes fixed on the endless night. The real fight, he murmured, has only just begun.